All right. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode where the title is Recovery Starts with a Decision. And I want to dive into this today because I think so often we put recovery into these external things and make it out of our reach, not realizing that it's something that inherently is an internal decision that you make. And I'm going to go ahead and explain what I mean by that today. So, before we dive in, if you are looking for help on your journey to recovery, I have some links that I've linked up down in the notes, or you can also head over to restoredminds.com as we have some great resources for you to get started. Also, we are accepting applications in June for our TBC program or Taking Back Control program. So you are welcome to head over to restoredminds.com/TBC or check out the links in the notes. And if you are benefiting from the show and you like this material, please help us out real quick by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review on iTunes or Spotify. So let's go ahead and dive in. So, what do I mean when I say recovery is a decision? Well, I'm not saying that you snap your fingers and say, "Well, I decided to be recovered and now I'm recovered." Like, let's make sure we understand what I'm not saying. But when I say that it's a decision, I really do believe that. And let me explain. I was talking to someone at our kid's birthday party a few weekends ago. And the person was telling me how, they had gone through this massive physical transformation, right? I think they said they lost 150 pounds. And I was talking to them and just kind of like praising their work and just saying, "Oh, that's like amazing that you did that, and you're so cool," and so on and so forth. And I was like, and I asked him, I was like, "Well, like, how hard was that for you to do?" You know? And he looked me in the eyes and he was like, "Honestly, the moment I decided to do it, it was easy." And it just like caught me off guard because I assumed, right, he was gonna say, "Oh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life," this, that, and the other. But he's like, once I truly decided that this is what I was doing, it was easy because everything else just fell into place. See, what most of us are doing, and this is kind of what he had said when he was saying how why he struggled beforehand, is because he would do things with the idea that the cause was external, right? So it was always about like, I need to change my diet, and I need to change the gym that I go to, and I need to change this, and it's all outside of myself that I need to change. But there's such a profoundness in this little detail, and for some of you are going to get this, right? Some of you it's going to fly by, and that's okay. You're just not ready to hear this. um, but the decision is internal. The decision happens within, is to say, no, this is where I'm going, right? This is the result that I'm now affirming, aligning with, and moving towards without exception. There's nothing, see, because think about it, if someone's like, well, I need a gym to work out in order to lose weight, and I need to be at a gym that I like, and they need to have a cold plunge, and they need to have XYZ, and they need to do this, or you know what, it's like, I need to have a certain people prep my meals because I don't have the discipline to do it myself, and so on and so forth. It's always, as long as the solution is outside of you primarily, um, you're always going to revert back to who you are and your own internal decision, right? So people give these half-hearted attempts at diets and exercise and go on these trendy things for a little bit, and then ultimately revert back to who they are and who they see themselves to be internally. Deciding to change, deciding to recover from something like OCD and anxiety is an internal decision. It has to start with you saying, look, like, I am not okay living the way I'm living. I spend X amount of time ruminating my mind all day. I'm terrified of feeling my emotions. I don't know how to do this. I do compulsions this long. It's impacting now my health and wellness. It's impacting my relationship. It's impacting my work. It's impacting, my ability to do the things I want to do. It's impacting my vacations. It's impacting every facet of my life. And I am no longer going to live like this. My current way of understanding and interacting with my own internal experiences is developing this. And I am not okay with this. Therefore, I need to change. That's an internal decision. That's saying I need to make adjustments within me. Now, obviously, stacking stuff up in your environment absolutely helps and should be part of the process, right? Of course, setting a meal schedule needs to be part of making a, or like having certain, some kind of plan with food and intake and all that stuff needs to be part of it. Of course, exercise needs to be part of it. But someone who's decided internally, the difference between that and someone who's still projecting and putting on their change on the outside of themselves, if the gym is closed that day, it's like, oh, I guess I can't work out, because that's where someone who's made the internal decision is like, oh, okay, guess my workout's going to be at my house. It's like, because I know a workout's going to be part of it because I've decided this transformation is happening. This was my experience with OCD and anxiety. Like, it was never a question on whether or not I was going to recover. I didn't know how to do a lot of things. I didn't know the skills. I didn't know anything about beliefs that I was holding, all this stuff. So there was an unfolding process of learning, implementing, mastering, refining, right? All of that stuff that goes into this, of course. Just like any other work on yourself, there's going to be a process to this. But the decision was mine. The decision is also yours. If you're listening or watching this, it really is. It's like your decision. And it doesn't mean that just because you decide it happens instantly. Your decision is, this is where I'm going. And whatever needs to happen for me to get there will naturally unfold. And I'm going to overcome whatever challenges are along the way. But the end destination is, I'm setting the intention and I claim that. Most people don't look at their recovery that way. And for that reason, among others, they run into their hardship and then they quit. And they revert back to their old identities, their old belief systems, their old behavioral patterns. And if you understand that this forms and is a pattern rooted in identities and beliefs and the way you handle emotion, the way you handle thoughts, all things that you are currently practicing, you begin to understand that I need to develop an entire new practice. Just in the same way, for the gentleman who was telling me about his story, like when he was 150 pounds over, where he was supposed to be, that didn't just happen to him. That developed as a result of a practice, and therefore to make the change, an entire new practice needed to be installed. Right? Same exact thing here with mental and emotional health. It's like your practice has created something that's made this experience now unmanageable. And what we need to do is not kind of, oh, I'm going to kind of try to change this, or, you know what, I want to try this thing, but if it gets hard, I'm going to quit. And like, it's like you need to make the decision within yourself. I'm not going to do what I've been doing anymore. Nothing that I've been doing needs to be a part of the new adoption of my plan. Because everything I've been doing has created this experience that I don't want to have. Therefore, I need to have a complete rewrite. That is what I mean when I say recovery is a decision. Because if you don't have that decision installed within you, if that's not your objective, and I mean no matter what, the attempts that you make are going to be half-hearted because you haven't decided that within yourself that that's the outcome that you're going to achieve. And when you really decide that there's an outcome you're going to achieve, there's no excuse for you not reaching it, because you need to make it happen. As long as we don't make that decision, we can always put off onto something else why that didn't work. Someone who makes the decision to recover, it doesn't matter if something didn't work. Then we move to the next thing, and we evolve into the next thing and the next thing until we get the result. We don't go, oh, well, I didn't connect with this person and they didn't tell me about mental compulsions, or, you got to understand it's this. It's like you can tell someone who hasn't made the decision, because when I ask them, what's going on, it's generally always something outside of them that's the cause. And this is why, like, in TBC, like, you know, I totally acknowledge TBC is not for everyone. If you're someone who thinks that like something outside of me is the way that I'm gonna change, you're already looking in the wrong place when it comes to change and transformation. If you're dominated by fear and your state is dominated by fear, the reality is you're holding on to and maintaining belief systems. You're holding on and maintaining identities. And these may have taken shape very early in your life, but it doesn't mean that you have to continue with them, and it doesn't mean they're serving you anymore. But when I say decision, I literally mean like it's an internal decision. It's a like, this is where I'm going. And if you aren't supporting that, then you're not part of the team anymore. Like that's the commitment that's needed. And a decision is just that. It's a firm decision. It's not like maybe, kind of. It's this is where I'm going. So I wanted to share that today because it was a real powerful conversation that I was in, and I thought it was so applicable to any facet of life when it comes to change and transformation, but especially when we're talking about fear, when we're talking about OCD and anxiety, that you really do have the power to make that kind of decision. And sitting with that for a little bit and really like letting that marinate for a second, because once you really grasp what I just said there, you realize that it's in your hands to do this. So thanks so much for hanging out today. Wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Hey there, thanks so much for watching that episode. If you found it helpful, we have some links to some other episodes that we think you might like as well. And if you're looking for help on your journey to recovery from fear, stress, and anxiety, either check out the links in the notes or head over to restoredminds.com. Thank you, and talk to you soon.